Hi, I'm Colin Rickers with Bias Technology Solutions, and in this video, I will show you how to run the self-diagnostic test. So if you have failed your daily test a couple of times, I suggest that you run the self-diagnostic test. And at the beginning, it's going to refer to hooking up a couple of jumpers. So jumper number one is from the floor pressure adapter to the downstream brake cylinder, and it's checking the pistons and how much pressure is behind the white hose that actuates them. If you do not have a set of dedicated jumpers, what you need to do is push down on the orange ring and pull out the white hose from your floor pressure adapter. We're going to use the white hose as our jumper hose. The male fitting that's on it goes where it always does, into the floor pressure adapter. You then need to go to your downstream brake cylinder hose, push down on the orange ring, and you need to get one of the couplers off an end of your downstream hose. The other end of the white hose goes into the open female from the downstream hose, and you connect it to the downstream brake cylinder. And that is one way of creating jumper number one for the self-diagnostic test. The other way of doing that is if you have dedicated jumpers already made up with just a piece of clear tube. You still have that male fitting, it goes there, and the female goes on to the downstream, and now you've got a jumper from the floor pressure adapter to the downstream brake cylinder. And that is jumper number one. You will then see reference to jumper number two, which is taking the white hose or your jumper hose from the downstream over to the green brake cylinder. And the way you would do that is you would now be hooked up this way, push down on the orange ring, remove it from there, and you will have this adapter that you use for back when you ran 2-port tests. And this is the same fitting on the green hose. You put the white hose into this female coupler, and this is the one that fits onto the green hose. And this is jumper number two for the self-diagnostic test. And again, this is how you would do it with your existing fittings and the white hose. You can also do this by either, if you have a dedicated jumper and just that fitting, moving the tube from the floor pressure adapter to the green hose, or the last option would be if you have a completely different dedicated jumper number two, in which case you would do that. Whichever method you use, the first jumper goes from the floor pressure adapter to the downstream brake cylinder, and the second jumper goes from the downstream brake cylinder to the green brake cylinder, like this. So to run the self-diagnostic test, I'm going to choose self-diagnostic test off the main menu, press next. Ensure the device has supply air connected, which it does. Disconnect all hoses, which we have. And now it's going to tell me to install the BC cap onto the brake pipe fitting. You can do this in various ways, but this is by far the easiest. The other way would be to use your brake pipe hose, the floor pressure adapter, and the blanking plate, or you could use the brake pipe hose, the glad hand in the other end with a dummy coupling in the glad hand. The BP cap is by far the easiest and has the least ways to leak during the test. It's now going to tell me to jumper the white 4-port adapter hose from the floor pressure adapter fitting to the downstream BC fitting. I'm going to use my dedicated jumper here. So from the floor pressure adapter to the downstream brake cylinder. I'm going to press next. All right, it's measured the pressure that's being put out of the floor pressure adapter, and it's going to tell me to disconnect the white floor pressure adapter hose from the downstream BC fitting and jumper the black downstream BC with a piece of tubing from the downstream BC fitting to the green brake cylinder fitting using the coupler. So for this, I'm going to plug my coupler in push down on the orange hose, move the tube over. And for now, I can remove this, and now I have my jumper going from the downstream brake cylinder hose to the green brake cylinder fitting. I'll press next, and now it will run through the rest of the test on its own, and at the end, it will let you know if there are any failures. Our self-diagnostic test is complete. In this instance, we found no failures. It tells us that. This test report is in the other test report folder. So I will press back to previous, self-diagnostic test complete, press next to return to main menu. And now I can go ahead and remove my jumper. And if I have any issues, I can address those. In this instance, the device detected leakage in the brake cylinder line. And because we have them jumpered, it's a common air source. And so we can further isolate the leakage by removing the common air source. So the device is going to tell me, now remove the jumper hose from both brake cylinder and downstream brake cylinder fittings. Hose is pressurized, so there will be puffs of air. Disconnect quickly to trap air in the downstream fitting. So we just want to leave as much air as possible in there, so we're just going to grab both quick connects and we're going to remove them right like that. And we still have air in both sides. I'm going to press next, and it will now go into the leakage detection for the brake cylinders independently.